Multi-brand is what I want, or Rolex. These are the two things I want, because I think these would yield the highest number of maniacs. Seiko would be just a bunch of sensible people trying to make sense of the pricing structure desperately. You know, and we could walk down that road together. Like, look, I don't get it either.
Greetings and welcome to aBlogtoWatch Weekly. It's been 5,953 days of continual service of not selling any watches on the internet. Ariel, how are you feeling about adding one more day to that total?
I feel amazing. We just had a whole meeting about this, and I say we got to break like 8,000 or 9,000 or maybe 10,000 days. I don't know why, but we can maybe. Oh no, I was going to say make a watch in commemoration of that. No, we won't.
No, I actually think that's almost justifiable. That if we got to 10,000 days, we could actually then sell a watch.
We wouldn't sell it. We could make another some collaboration watch.
A collaboration watch. David, are you feeling like you're ready to make 6,000 days of continually being a journalist and not a watch retailer?
Yeah, I'm perfectly happy with this as it is. Although to be honest, I would love to work in retail. I've had this idea to go and work in a boutique for like, you know, a month or maybe 2 or 3 months, just to see that side of the watch industry. I genuinely would love to do that and conclude.
6 hours into it, David's like, get me the hell out of here.
Yeah, maybe. Oh, all these idiots. No, seriously, I want to like see what people, you know, what questions are people asking, and you know, how they're bargaining, and you know what their concerns are and wishes and whatever. I think that, you know, I genuinely believe we've been missing out on that part of the industry a little bit.
We have, and then when I talk to the retailers, I am very quickly convinced
why.
I don't want to have anything to do with that. We have questions to look forward to, such as, will you buy my fake watch for me and pretend like it's real? Or, I don't want to spend that much money on the watch. I want to spend this much money, and I'm not going to leave until you make me a deal.
Oh, wow, okay.
I've always wanted to work in a chip shop, but, you know, I think my dreams maybe not. I think, actually, Ariel, if you were able to send David to a particular brand, who would you send him to work for 6 months?
Like, is this me being mean or me being nice? Like, what are we talking about?
Well, I mean, it's Christmas time, so mean.
Oh,
obviously.
I would have David work on the Invicta cruise and sell Invictas for several days straight.
Brilliant.
I just get drunk on day one and then sober.
That's possible. You can do that. You will be one of everyone who's not sober there, just so you know.
Captain, one of our lifeboats is missing. Hey.
How much of a discount do you want? Anywhere between 0 to 97%. You can choose.
Do you know someone on Mars spent $2,000 on this, but for you, $199.
I think a GoFundMe could be appropriate. Maybe for our 6,000 days of continually not selling a watch, we should do a GoFundMe to send David on an Invicta cruise.
I feel like he has to wear a uniform. Wherever he ends up doing this, he has to wear... it has to have a hat and a name tag of some type. But someone needs to design the watch retailer uniform that David is going to wear in our fantasy.
Okay, if you are a watch retailer and you would like David to come and work for you, then do email the show podcast at aBlogtoWatch.
I feel like it looks a lot like, you know, the ushers of old that still had a tie, but were like,
yes.
I feel like it's going to be the watch usher. That's really going to be the outfit.
David, when was the last time you wore a tie?
Not that long ago, actually. A bow tie, of all things. Yeah.
All right, okay. I think I'd probably make you work for Seiko.
Okay.
So you can, you know, by the end of it, you should understand the craziness of the pricing structure.
Maybe. You know? Maybe not.
Oh, we're going there already.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, we'll get there. Don't worry about it. I wonder whether I think Sylvain could probably do myself and Ariel a solid and get you locked away in some Breitling boutique for 6 months.
Maybe. No, I want multi-brand.
That's too cool. That's too
multi-brand.
Cool.
Multi-brand is what I want, or Rolex. These are the two things I want, because I think these would yield the highest number of maniacs. Seiko would be just a bunch of sensible people trying to make sense of the pricing structure desperately. You know, and we could walk down that road together. Like, look, I don't get it either.
Maybe you could just go in with a Sharpie and change all the Grand Seiko prices to just $1,000 and all the non-Seiko Grand Seiko prices to something less than $1,000. That would be it sorted. Anyway, that is us. We are still not selling watches. We are still trying to report on them. Right. Well, actually, before we go further, David, I did see a post on, I think it was Instagram, it may have been WhatsApp. I never know these days. Your shiny Zenith arrived in the post?
Yes, it's shinier than expected.
Is it?
Yes, it's really very shiny. It's fantastic. It's very, very heavy. It's very large. For the it's the Zenith Defy Extreme mirror, and it's basically Zenith's Sejima inspired Bulgari Sejima inspired watch, and it's hysterical in a way, and it's cool in another. So yeah, it's I'm glad it's here now, and I can play around with it.
And have you worn it anywhere other than your own home?
Of course, yeah. I wear these things all the time. I've been wearing it for like 3 days.
And have you already figured out what bits of it you're going to have to repolish before you send it back?
All of them, basically. I mean, it's not pristine in the way that it arrived. It's sort of scratched up, but it's not too bad. It does not, it gets bad on watches with polished parts when they became opaque and not so shiny. It just a scratch here and there does not bother me. But when it becomes less shiny as a surface altogether, that's when I think a polish is due. And honestly, that can happen within a year with my watches. So so yeah, that maybe I wonder how this watch will hold up over like years of wear, because you just will keep polishing it until it basically disappears, right?
And is it in any way legible?
Yeah, it's not the best, but it's not the worst either. So it's pretty good. I look forward to writing the review on it.
Is it one big fingerprint magnet?
Oh yeah, it's okay. Smudge City all over. Yes.
Okay.
You rest easy, Ariel. It is that.
No, I think maybe we talked about this. I remember we as a joke need to make a shirt, like a long sleeve shirt, but made out of a polishing cloth. So you just always have one handy.
That's actually an excellent idea. Maybe you could just have one dangle like right at the waist, just
oh no, like they used to have, like the handkerchief was like connected in your inner sleeve and you would tuck it in there like some creep. Okay, so we'll have to have a scene. I think there was one in like the old Interview with a Vampire movie where Lestat pulls a little handkerchief out. We'll just recreate that, but instead of wiping blood off of his face, David will polish his watch.
Yes.
Wearing with the frilly kind of blousey shirt, the piratey style one there.
A
classy pirate. This is a thing now.
Do you know what idiot mittens are?
What?
Do you know what idiot mittens are?
Idiot mittens?
Yeah.
Sounds like something a smart person wouldn't get anywhere close to.
That's where you have a pair of gloves that are connected up your sleeves and across your shoulders with a bit of string.
Oh, I use those, yes.
so I think we need the equivalent with like cloth.
I didn't know the name of those. I thought those were very intelligent.
Very intelligent. In Ariel's household, they're called very intelligent mittens.
That's how I don't constantly drop USA, them without knowing it.
They're in America and Europe. So, but you also get those gloves, like ski gloves, whereby on the glove they have like a wee wiper. A wiper's not the right term.
You want like a windshield wiper for the watch?
Yeah,
Where are we
like
going
yeah. So they have. Well, you would use it for your ski goggles. They have like a little
like a watch squeegee.
Yeah, like a watch squeegee that's fastened to your glove.
There's another
so
great
that
product.
You can squeegee across your goggles. So what you need is that little patch. Just like you would get patches on your elbows on a jumper that you were using.
So we need a tiny squeegee for watches.
A tiny squeegee and then a tiny polishing cloth just sewn into the cuff, so that you've always got that handy for your Zenith mirror or anything else for that matter. Anyway, let's move on from this nonsense. IWC.
It's only nonsense because we know we can actually see people in our minds performing this, cleaning it. So that's why it's not actually that silly, because I can see dudes being like, "Oh, my watch is not shiny enough."
I'm fairly sure someone from Daily Watch has probably already designed this, like the watch. You remember the watch lock?
The watch lock?
Those guys will have designed one of these where you... Are you not familiar with the watch lock?
Is that that thing for like old Rolexes so someone doesn't steal it off your wrist? It was for like a small subset of vintage watch wearers that had a watch. It was just too easy to steal.
I'm sure this was is it Christian Hagen's?
Yeah.
I'm sure this came out of the mind of Christian.
It probably did, but nowadays the people stealing your watch are not covert about it. They're overt about it, right? That was like for pickpockets. Nowadays, it's
Yes.
like, I will kill you or cut off a limb if you don't give me a watch.
Exactly.
This is not going to help that.
Exactly. It actually was going to make it worse because if you couldn't get your watch off quickly enough, they were just going to use the machete to extract it via the removal of your entire hand. There is actually a documentary. If you guys are able to use your VPN magic, it might be available non-VPN. There's a show on the BBC, a special report about watch crime in London where they interview some of the criminals.
I read the article version of it.
Yeah, it's not very well done, the show.
No.
The show's a bit glamorizing for my liking.
And they were trying to find sympathy in the thieves.
Yeah.
What?
It was a bit...
That's
Yeah,
the
it
most
was a
they were
bit
like-
odd.
thing ever.
Yeah, they kept having the quote of like, but I have bills to pay. I'm like, so that makes it okay?
You will have to bleep that, Rick.
Yeah, it was a bit of a weird
Did
one.
they actually
Bit of
machete
a-
anyone? That's what I want to wait for the first person to actually be like, I'm going to call your bluff. Yeah, cut my hand off. I don't think they're going to do it.
No, I'm not aware of anyone actually being macheted, but this is getting a bit dark before Christmas.
It's been a thing that I was told multiple times. Oh, if you go to London, you will have your hand cut off. And, it's like,
I have an idea.
okay, I have one
we
too.
need to-
What's yours?
We need to
David working in a boutique in London.
we need
No,
to
almost,
crocodile
no.
Dundee this. You know the whole like one guy pulls out a knife and then someone has a bigger
That's
knife.
not a knife.
Mm-hmm.
So you just need something larger than a machete, a sword,
was
maybe.
I was going down that road.
Panerai,
Ariel, I have the
an
solution for
Invicta.
that. I was going down that way, and I found the ultimate solution, and that is an explosive vest. So if somebody
I'm
comes
pretty
to you
sure it
like
was
that-
going to be a handgun if you took it to that degree, but
No.
we'll go with your sacrificing option. Yes.
Yeah.
No one gets this watch now.
It would cease to exist along with all of us, actually. Maybe an explosive
think,
watch, like a small self-destructing watch that just destructs itself.
So you
If
give it
somebody
to
says it's-
someone, you chuckle, and then so basically
Yeah, oh,
the
boom.
entire time you're wearing one of those like
Yeah,
ink
yeah.
exploding
Yes, do
pads.
take
That's
my watch.
great. Wow.
Do take my watch.
Just
Ooh.
a
You know
tiny
those-
C4 like charge inside the watch.
There you go. That would be a good way of catching these people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, let's design that. Okay, I'm giving up our
It's
idea.
gotta look
We're
super gold. It's gotta have diamonds. It's gotta look
No, no,
so
no.
blinky.
We are. I hereby officially announce that we are stopping not selling watches at 5,953 days, and we are building this watch.
Yeah.
We'll have a
explosive one.
transmitter that you can strap to your ankle. Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's strapped to your
Yeah,
ankle.
of course, it has to be at your ankle so that you
No, you need to
nonchalantly
be able
bend
to set-
over. Well, you need to bend over and
No,
duck so that when
nonchalantly
the
bend-
person who stole your watch blows up, their
Yeah.
image do not get on you.
I was more thinking it would be a re-engineered Breitling emergency.
So
So you have
will have to
another
be-
watch,
the-
which is the transmitter. Just hope they steal the right one.
Yeah.
You get double wristing. Do you want the red watch or the blue watch?
Don't take the one with the button. Don't take the one with the button.
Yeah, I was more thinking that you would let them get away to all their
Yeah.
pals and then self-destruct the watch, rather than self-destruct to get in front of you.
Yeah.
Like
get
some
away,
sort of-
You don't want to
fix that.
see
The
it happen.
boys,
Gosh.
like some sort of the boys TV
Okay,
show
where the head explodes. Yeah.
you with a head
That's
explodes.
gotta be a thing. It would be classy for Omega to do this in a Bond semester.
Imagine explaining taking this watch on it through the airport and explaining, no. It's not to blow up any of you folks.
I'm sure that would watch.
This is definitely one
No.
of our better ideas.
Yes.
Yeah, well, you say that. Right, I think a better idea would be to finally review this IWC Engineer 40 titanium
A
watch.
lot of comments.
This-
highly
lot of
explosive. Maybe,
comments.
it's made out of magnesium. No, I'm kidding.
Just put it in water. This will probably go down as being like one of the watch releases of the year in terms of expectation, what they produced, etc., etc. But now that we're a bit of distance away from its initial release, and we have this hands-on review of it from Ripley. What are we thinking? Are we still in love with the IWC Engineer? Were we ever in love with it in the first place?
I was at the launch, and I also was at Watches of Wonders, where we got to see and photograph this titanium version that we photographed, because there's the steel in the titanium version. I really admire what went into making this watch what it is. The original Jaeger-LeCoultre design was something that looked great on paper, but when you made the watch, it was like, this is all screwed up. The proportions are wrong. It took all these years and a lot of effort to sort of make what Jaeger-LeCoultre originally sort of had in mind. And that's what this is. So it is a very well done collector's watch in that sense. I think the consensus is, despite the fact that it is a very nice watch, it's also extremely expensive. And some people may think it seems arbitrarily expensive. I really can't say either way. No brand wants to charge more than they have to sell watches, right? But I think that there is this problem where there's been such a huge amount of momentum around the integrated bracelet watch trend and certain price points that I think that everyone can sell a watch for a little bit under a Nautilus. That's turning out not to be so true. So I think it's a fantastic watch, probably positioned a little bit wrong, but I don't necessarily understand all the lot of sentiment, some of which is negative.
David?
I don't think it's, well, it's okay, but it would be okay for like half the price. I think it's sure, watch brands want to price everything at at a point where they can sell it, but I think this one is as far as they could stretch it. 14,600, I mean, that's a lot for a 3-hand with a date, even if it's in titanium. And I don't see it being finished that super nicely. I think it's like they were going for the crowd who had to have one, just because it's integrated and it's one of the greats from the early period, from the 70s and such. So whatever, I'm not too crazy over it. Somebody pointed out at some point that the hands are a little bit too far apart, vertically speaking. And that is actually true when you compare it to the older models. So I think that it's just a little bit of a recased something or another from IWC. And I wish that for 14.6 they went the extra mile and made it a little bit sleeker and slimmer, just a tiny little bit. But yeah, I'm happy they made it. It's been long overdue. Finally, it's here. So I think we can wrap the integrated bracelet trend now.
Yeah. Are we fundamentally talking about prices more than we used to? Or being critical?
I think we're always talking about pricing.
But it feels like we are more and more grumpy. Maybe we're just getting older. Maybe we are just grumpy in the first place. But it feels like we're more and more like thinking that so many different prices that brands are charging is OTT as opposed to justifiable.
Well, let's be honest. The most impressive thing that any watch can do is be great at a fair price, right? Like, we all agree it's not that hard to make a super cool looking watch if you just charge a bunch of money for it. You can just pay suppliers and they'll make you something fabulous and charge you a lot. You have to then charge consumers a lot. It's when a brand is actually able to control the cost so well that everyone just gets super excited about it. It's the hardest thing to do. And I think what we've been noticing is that there hasn't been a lot of that from the mainstream brands. Like, we kind of expect once in a while for there to be awesome value from a mainstream brand, and they just continually be like, no, yeah, we're not going to do that. No, not this time. So yes, it's always going to be the case that, people who are into a hobby for more than a few years start to lament, inflation, rearing its ugly head. But I think what we're really talking about, the fact is that this whole, the most special thing that a brand can do, which is make something amazing at sort of an affordable price, often because of high volume, we're not seeing. And what I think we're hopefully seeing is the presence of a new low volume industry. What could happen, and this is a big if, but if watches like this, even at nearly $15,000, don't lose that much money, and maybe you have to spend at least $12,000 on them to buy used, that could over time make us feel more comfortable about it. But we have, of course, yet to experience that. And it's anyone's guess how depreciation will work out.
Yeah. So my wife likes these, and we've been into the boutiques several times trying out various IWC engineers. But we've also been into Girard-Perregaux to look at the Laureato, which is pretty much the same price as this IWC. What should I buy? The IWC or the which is more watch for the money? The IWC or the Girard-Perregaux? I need some advice. I need some marriage guidance here, guys. Should I be buying the IWC or should we be buying the Girard-Perregaux? What do you think?
It's really the same to me. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's not that I don't have a preference, maybe one way or another, or someone's not allowed to. But, we're basically saying, like, do you want the Chevy or Ford truck? They're about the same amount. They serve the same purpose. There's going to be little differences, but they're designed to give you the same overall emotions, or at least fit in your life kind of the same way. Like, I think that you'd be very happy with either of those is the point.
But do you feel that? See, I've obviously been in to have a look at both of them, and I'm like, it just feels like the Girard-Perregaux is more watched because it's Girard-Perregaux. I don't know why. Maybe that's my bias. Whereas I'm like, 15 grand for an IWC just doesn't feel the same.
You said it yourself. It's your bias. Girard-Perregaux has done a better job convincing you that their products are worth more. Kudos to Girard-Perregaux. I'm not sure what IWC necessarily did wrong, but what you're saying is a reflection of that. There could be someone on a different side of the world who the exact opposite is true. IWC has reached them a bunch of times. They started with like gold Da Vinci's, and for them this makes sense. Whereas the Girard-Perregaux, they're like, I've never seen one of those on anyone's wrist. So you know what I mean? Like experience really matters a lot here.
Yeah, well, if you've got an opinion, then there are plenty of opinions about this watch on the website. Go and join in the comment section. We've spoken about value. Let's look at something which I think the conclusion is this really is decent value, and that is the Vero SWQ series watches. Now, instantly you look at this, you're getting Moser vibes, as Ripley relates in the article. But this is a watch that is quartz. It's $195. And much like another watch we'll talk about shortly, which David mentioned last week, the CIGA design, is there now developing a kind of uber competitive watch at the kind of 1, 2, basically at a price level below a moon swatch, or that kind of level, that is just offering now really good design, whereas 2 or 3 years ago, 5 years ago, watch at that price, they were actually, they were cobbled together to just be cheap watches, whereas now some of the designs of these, some of the ways that these watches look, are actually highly appealing either to everybody or to very distinct sectors of buyers.
So here's a question.
And they're incredibly cheap.
Here's the question. How big is the market of we'll say $400 or $500 enthusiast watches going to be? To a large degree, smartwatches killed the casual side of that industry, right? So all the ancestors of this watch, not that Vero was making them, but the sort of thematic ancestors of this Vero watch, they all went the way of the dodo when the department store displays for those watches were just eviscerated by the fact that the mainstream was just wearing, smartwatches and Apple watches and things of that nature. There is a large group of people out there who, for them, $200 or $300 is going to be a lot of money to spend on an enthusiast item like a fashion watch, and so there's probably a market for it. But watches like this must be made at high volumes, otherwise it's very difficult to maintain sort of a low price point. So there used to be a very healthy market for products of this type, very, very healthy market. But today the economics don't exist. So we can appreciate that a product like this makes sense and is appealing, but I really am at a loss as to sort of what the actual market size for products like this is right now.
But is there a we referred to watch crime? Are people who have expensive watches, they still want to wear a watch, now just buying multiples of these things? It looks cool. It could be any, people who are into watches eventually realize that nobody cares, that nobody is noticing other than another watch geek, which you're seldom going to come across unless you go and specifically gather with them. Unless it's a Rolex, in which case you're attracting all sorts of other additional attention. Nobody's going to notice that you're wearing a FP Journe. They might comment that it looks nice because it's blue and shiny, but they're as likely to comment, someone who's going to say, oh, nice watch, mate, is as likely to say nice watch, mate, to this nice blue Vero as they are to your FP Journe if they know nothing about watches and they're up for a chat. So is it that these kind of watches that, are reflective of, in this case, a Moser, a Center Seconds Pioneer, or something similar, are just attracting the watch geek who, is quite happy to buy and have a watch case full of 10, 12, 20, 100 watches that they've bought for $100 or $200 that they've built up over the years?
I hear what you're saying, but I think the tendency is that someone who is an enthusiast, unless they really can't afford more, tends to find enough lacking in watches at this price point that they wear watches like this for a narrow amount of time before they sort of move up market just because they want fancier this, fancier that. So you're right. You don't need an expensive watch to garner a compliment. But typically, it begins with something that the wearer themselves want to wear. And this typically, again, there's sort of this price point and this design is a very migratory period. People tend to not stay here for too many years.
David, talk to us about this Vero. What do you think of it?
I guess some elements of it has a Moser quality to it or Moser effect to it, but not that much. I mean, it's a blue dial, black glaze. It's interesting how a small brand like Moser, or any brand for that matter, can own a specific design. And I don't mean this in a bad way at all. I just find it interesting. I think this is a solid proposition for 195, but as Ariel is saying, you get this, you wear this for a while, and then you move on. So it's not like a long-term keeper some of the time. These watches are, like, looking at the hands, for example, the case back, some elements of it, or the end link of a strap, or if I can call it that, where it joins the case. Some elements are cheap, but that's fine. I mean, this is a cheap watch, relatively speaking, of course. So it's just, if it's fun, you like it, you wear it, and then, who knows, you move on in a year or two. And I'm against the idea of having like hundreds of cheap watches. I would rather have one nice watch than, gazillions of cheap watches.
Yeah. And the CIGA design that you had shipped in,
Yeah.
Is it still as appealing a proposition now that you've worn it around the place?
Well, yeah, it's absolutely astounding how good that watch is. I just only thing I can say is for people to read the review. I mean, it's like 2,700 words or something like that. So it took a while to explain because this is always a challenge. If you just say, oh, it looks nice, it looks more expensive than it is, then people were like, sure, but how so? And then it will get picked apart. So I did that on my own, and that's it's there. It's not all good. I mean, there are different sections in the article titled "The Bad" and "The Ugly" and "The Odd." So it's an odd watch, but for 195, or the full retail is going to be 269. It's a fantastic watch to have, even if you are an experienced or burned out collector.
David, I want to ask you about the CIGA brand because they've sort of they have an interesting niche in terms of the price point and the designs. Help explain to people what you think this brand is trying to accomplish and who are they for right now?
That's a really good question. I mean, they launch a lot of their products on Indiegogo and places like that. It's really, I feel like I get the vibes of an experimentative brand in the sense that they just look how far things can be stretched as far as manufacturing and quality and value proposition is concerned. And maybe it's more about building this know-how than making money right here and right now. That's the vibe I'm getting. I can't imagine there being too much money made on this watch for 195 once you factor in all the nouns, even just the packaging and just all the rest. The way that it is presented is very nice as well. So it's not like you feel like you're getting something in like a plastic filled envelope shipped out to you and then you just run away with it and do whatever you want. No, it's really genuinely nicely presented. So to answer your question, I genuinely don't know where they are going with this other than accumulating know-how and maybe ultimately, just making a push in the end and with a solid and complete portfolio of watches. But for now, it's one new watch here, one new watch there.
Well, we've spoken about some extraordinary pricing at the IWC level and some extraordinary pricing at the cheap watch level. So it would seem only appropriate now to discuss the completely randomized pricing in our favourite section, Guess the Price of the Seiko. So this week, So first of all, we have an email.
Yes.
We have an email from Matt. So Matt has sent the show an email, and he's not very happy. He does appreciate the show, but he's not very happy.
At least he put that part in there. I appreciated that he's like,
he did.
I don't want you guys to totally think I'm angry. Just mostly angry.
we're gonna call this our unsubscribe section.
Okay.
So if you would like to send us an unsubscribe email,
no, he made it clear he's gonna keep listening.
Yeah, I know, but we'll call it. He is gonna listen.
We could call it something else, like the complaint section.
The complaint section. So if you would like to send us your complaint or your unsubscribe about our complete unconscious or very conscious bias, then please do. So Matt sent us a lovely email saying, "Wait a minute, you're giving Seiko so much hard time." I don't see it. I think we love Seiko. I think he thinks we don't like Seiko. I love Seiko. I have more Seikos than I have any other brand.
We are literally making fun of Seiko on a regular basis. Like, it's not like we have once in a while a skit about it. It's sort of like at every episode, watch us kick the Seiko. Here we are, kicking Seiko again.
If they just released less of them at more understandable pricing,
yes,
then we wouldn't do it.
The joke would die.
The joke would die. We do pick.
So let me ask you this.
As has been demonstrated, we have already picked on the pricing of IWC. It's just that IWC don't release a different watch every week. Otherwise, this would be guess the price of the IWC. But Seiko do. So
okay. So let's go into it more. So he is. So this gentleman who clearly is a Seiko fan, and we will say each of us are multiple Seiko owners. We do like them.
Alpinist.
I don't think we would actually talk about Seiko if we didn't like Seiko. There's plenty of brands we don't like, and we don't talk about them because we don't have much to say. This gentleman seems to feel that if you compare the Seiko to a lot of other watches, it's still a good value. That may be so, but they're literally charging a lot more for not that much more watch. So yes, it's still a good value, but it's still more expensive than they ever needed to charge for it, and we didn't see a better watch. So the Bell & Ross or some of the other watches you're comparing it to, it's not as though they just decided to, in some instances, double their price and give maybe like 10% more watch, which is, I think, what our complaint was. We feel that while Seiko is an amazing product, they were quite tone deaf in the last several years of rapid increases without really asking, will the consumer want it? It was a very aggressive thing to do. It's like, hey, everyone, guess what you're going to pay now for a Seiko? And I don't feel that they've done the work to convince the people that brought to Seiko where it is right now, that it is now a brand that you should still follow at those price points. We're sort of allowed to say that and poke fun of it. So do we all like Seikos? Yes. Do we all happily wear Seikos? Are we excited to wear Seikos? Yes. Would we buy Seikos? Yes. We just don't feel now that the value proposition represents what Seiko could offer, knowing that they haven't radically changed their manufacturing. And we do feel that it's a little amusing that in such a fast amount of time, they've asked us, without any special education, very similar watches, whole lot more money. We're allowed to be amused at this rapid education that they seem to have missed giving us.
So he does ask if we could please spread the mockery more evenly between Tudor, Rolex, and AP. I guarantee that the next Tudor, Rolex, or AP that's released, there will almost certainly be plenty of mockery.
Talking about pricing, AP is the easiest to mock right now. I mean, it is. I just reviewed one of their Royal Oak Offshore, what they call the self-winding chronograph, 43 millimeter ceramic case, nice watch. Nearly $58,000. So yeah, right. Like, it's like, it doesn't even make any sense. Like I can't even make a joke about it because I don't even like, am I missing something? Like they just decided to fundamentally be like, we don't even want to be priced anywhere near those other things. We're just gonna, I mean, the Royal Oak Offshore was like, again, expensive at about 25,000, 30,000. They just decided to literally double the price without any pomp or circumstance. And that's, like, I don't even, like, that's just funny to me, but it's also shocking. It's like almost like I missed something, I don't know. So
I'm scrolling through the Royal Oak Offshore page on the AP website, and it's making me sick. It's so it's so bad. It's visual pollution. It's like it's basically global warming for my eyes. just scrolling through it.
Seiko hasn't made us sick yet, okay? We haven't gotten sick of our Seiko.
We haven't actually been ill.
Yeah,
We haven't been
I
ill.
don't get this
And
vibe
we're
from
probably-
the Seiko most of the time, but I do get here. I mean, just scrolling through, and my mind is overwhelmed as I'm trying to make sense of what this collection has turned into. Genuinely, I've not looked at this for so long. I'm now in shock.
I mean, it was a company with a one-hit wonder. It seems to have managed to get rid
the
of
hell?
its only.
Seriously, this is if you're feeling down, just look at this collection. It's so random.
we will the next time it happens, we will for 1 week only replace this game with guess the price of the AP.
It's shockingly random.
But this week it's guess the price of the Seiko. So that's the game,
Wow.
folks. Like, I love it. So do send us in your unsubscribed emails. Tell us what we got wrong and why you are now unsubscribed.
Please don't
From
unsubscribe.
the show. Please don't unsubscribe. Please don't do it. But so if you send us an email a funny email that finishes with the word unsubscribed, then we will read it
Please
out. So
don't
send your
actually
emails
unsubscribe.
don't unsubscribe to podcast@aBlogtoWatch.com or hit us up on our various Instagram accounts. But Seiko 5, Sportsfield, GMT, SSK 023 and SSK 025 watches. It is just a Rolex Explorer 2 type case. Grand Seiko have already produced a watch that looks very much
It's
like
a little known
this.
fact, but actually the Explorer is based on this.
Yes, that's true.
Is that the
Hashtag truth is
Seiko
out.
seconds hand now the GMT hand?
Yeah.
Oh, listen, I've given up trying to figure out which hands are which.
Because for
on so
years
many
we've seen a
watches recently.
substantially similar hand as the seconds hand, and now we're told no, this other tiny thing's the seconds hand. This is now the GMT hand.
Yeah. I think it's the big fancy hand is now the GMT hand.
How
as I
wide are these
understand it.
watches? Are these 40? These are 40 millimeters?
These are, well, you can ask a question. These are 39.4.
Okay.
Why they didn't just do it at 40 millimeters, I have no idea.
They want to show us that their
who's-
instruments measure that precisely.
They do have a caliper. Yes, that's great.
the vernier calipers go all the way to points.
This is a
of
precision
millimeter.
brand. I'm impressed, They get real good measurements.
I was just going to say, I wonder if people will hate me if I point out that on the black cased watch, the GMT bezel is misaligned considerably from the dial.
Oh, we haven't done a Seiko misaligned story
Yeah.
for a wee while.
It looks okay on the regular one, but on the black one, it's kind of odd.
See, one looks good. I mean, who sits there and goes, you know what? We're going to make this 39.4 millimeters.
It does
I mean,
look a bit
in
misaligned. That's odd.
Anyway, right.
That's how you
so
know it's a
let's
real
guess the-
Seiko. If it's perfectly
Yes,
aligned,
that's-
then it's a fake.
It's a fake. So Seiko 5 Sportsfield GMT. It's powered by the Seiko 4R34 automatic GMT 41-hour power reserve. It's a collar GMT. Gents, guess the price of the Seiko.
Is this one of those proper GMTs? Or like it's
Yeah, I think, because it always confuses me now. I'm completely. I mean, I've got GMTs, and now I'm confused as to whether they're real GMTs or not. As I understand it, this is what you would call a real GMT.
I don't think it is.
Okay.
But you don't think it is?
I don't think it is.
I thought
No,
it
I
was.
think
Okay,
it works like the the ETA 2893 where it just goes backwards or forwards or whatever in one direction.
But why is that a bad thing? I never understood. Like, what is?
Yeah,
How is that?
because-
And same here.
No, because when you're
don't-
actually traveling, what you want to adjust is your main time, not the home time.
Yeah, your local time is what you want. Yeah.
Yeah, so this on this it's backwards. It thinks that when you're traveling, you're adjusting the GMT time, meaning like the GMT is what you're using as your local time, and then the main time is at home. So it's like
That's weird.
It's for people that travel less or
It's
it's less
too
operation.
early in the morning for this
So
conversation.
okay, so wait, are we
I
guessing the
am.
price?
Yes, guess the price.
I don't know. These can't be more than 500.
Yeah.
Just under 500. I'm good. This is Seiko 5, right? What are they normally like 350?
Yeah, it's a
This
Seiko
is
5.
a Seiko 5.
So another
I'll say
150 or
450.
something like
450
that.
from David. Ariel 500.
Sure.
Any advance in 450? Well, these are 434 USD
Oh,
dollars. So
wow.
Matt, we love these watches. We think they're priced fairly reasonably around what we would expect. So there you go. There can be no more Seiko love than that. Let's go from one shaggy dog story from Seiko to the ultimate watch shaggy dog story, and that is the JLC Reverso. and this is the Tribute Duoface Tourbillon watch. And as many folk will know, I don't believe a word of it when they say that this was designed in any way, shape, or form to be involved in the game of polo. David, you've had a hands-on with this watch. Would you be prepared to sit on the back of a horse with a mallet and a very hard ball being flung around an enormous pitch while wearing this?
Yeah, funnily enough, I happened to download the instruction manual for this watch, and
Downloaded.
seriously,
that's awesome.
JLC have a website?
Yeah, I was looking at it and I was like, watches with mechanical movements must not be used for sports involving significant risk of impact or abrupt action, such as golf or tennis. They didn't have...
They've admitted it.
The audacity to call polo in that list, but it's actually in the manual of this very watch.
They should have like a little picture of a horse with a circle and a line through it, you know?
Yeah.
I want the Ralph Lauren JLC collaboration to happen.
If anyone's curious, it's basically on the 4th page of the English manual and the 22nd page altogether. So you're not supposed to wear this for sports involving significant risk of impact on a freaking Reverso. Yeah, this is how far we've come in 80 or almost 90 years of development of the Reverso, but that's fine, I guess.
Is the point of this to be very thin?
It's quite thin, yes. It's like 9 point something millimeters, and it's very cool. I mean, the movement is less than 4 millimeters, and it's a flying tourbillon. You can use the Verso side, so the flip side of the case as a second time zone, so you can independently adjust the hour hand on that.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it has an AM/PM indicator as well, so you can keep track of whether it's like night or day at the second time zone. So it's a very cool, beautifully finished, fantastic watch.
It's really pretty.
It is unbelievably nice, and it's totally wearable. So it's beautifully sized, and otherwise it's just funny you're not supposed to wear it for whatever Versa was.
Is it over $100,000?
Well over, but it's a freaking tourbillon from Cheshire.
Well,
$139,000.
What is the price now of a Swiss-made tourbillon? 5,000 or 6,000? I'm just saying.
Yeah. We'll phone Andy or Ash and ask him. Yeah. Do I like this? Yeah, I mean, it's a lovely watch.
It's hard not to like this thing. It's really pretty.
Yeah, it is lovely. I was curious. Has anybody? What's the practicalities of wearing a Reverso on your right wrist? These are the things I wake up in the middle of the night thinking. Like,
why?
When it's on your left wrist and you want to turn it over, you slide. I'm just curious as to whether, because you use your thumb to push it. I was just curious as to whether it's a lot more awkward to turn. You have to do it the other way around. There you go. Maybe JLC.
It may be more awkward. Is it a lot more awkward? I don't know about that. Will you have to do something different with your hand to turn it? Yes. Will it be noticeably different? I don't know.
I'm just wondering. Like, yeah. Anyway, there you go. That's the things that keep me awake at night. If anybody has any bad experiences of wearing
Send
a
Rick
JLC
sleeping
Reverso
pills, okay? That's all I'm saying.
on the right hand.
You can't get any rest with these worries.
I just worry about JLC all the time.
Don't we all?
David, let's get some Rolex in here. Why not? Hands on the Rolex Sky-Dweller.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people who would not gravitate towards Rolex still love this watch. And I think in the comment section, there's a lot of people saying, yeah, if I was to own a Rolex, this would be the one I would own. The Sky-Dweller, maybe this particular green one. After you're hands-on with it, does this feature in your, if I was to buy a Rolex, this would be the one I would buy?
I've been contemplating getting a Sky-Dweller when it came out in steel at like 15 grand or something like that. And Mark in the comments put it really well by saying that this one is easy to respect but very hard to like. And that's so true. I mean, this is one of the most respectable watches in a sense in this segment. I mean, you get a freaking manual calendar, instantaneous date, second time zone, 3-day power reserve. It's beautifully made, honestly, and it's like under $16,000 if you can get one, of course. But it's just a little bit too thick and a little bit too large in a way. And it's very heavy, the watch head, and it's just very difficult to fit a large enough bracelet and have it balanced properly. And it's just a large watch that does wear large, and it's meant to be worn while traveling. But I'm not sure if you want something with this much heft on your wrist all the time. And I'm not even talking about the gold one. The gold one is ridiculously heavy on the wrist and on the eyes at the same time. But again, it's a very respectable thing from Rolex, albeit a little bit too thick. And it has the freaking ring command as well, which is fantastic to use.
Very cool.
The way it clicks, you have to rotate the bezel into 3 different clicks to choose the function of the crown, and therefore decide which indications of the watch you want to adjust through the crown. So it's a highly engineered, beautiful watch. Rolex is still very secretive about the things that it has changed, so I had to use some back channels, actually have a mole inside freaking Rolex to tell me what is new, to learn that, the seconds hand is thinner, and then the lugs are 0.3 of a millimeter longer, and it's nothing that Rolex would ever say, which I don't understand why. But we technically have to reverse engineer these things so as to create an article that does not read like all the other articles on this watch, but actually tell what is new. Because I think it's interesting to see what Rolex changes behind the scenes a little bit to make the Sky-Dweller a little bit more graceful in a way, which is slowly becoming, but it's still a long way to go.
Ariel, does this particular watch from Rolex get the respect, is maybe not quite the right word, but the respect for the technology, for the functionality, for the complication that it deserves?
I wore a Sky-Dweller for a few weeks one time, and I ended up really, really liking it. It was a difficult watch to stop wearing. It's the type of watch that grows on you. Like, if you don't like a Sky-Dweller, then wearing one will definitely do it to you. But I also like to say that this is like my favorite ugly watch. Like, David is correct that it is very nicely made, but for whatever reason, it's still like proportionally all weird on the dial, and that asymmetric subdial. Like, we get why it does what it does. It does it well, but it's an ugly watch in the dial. Like, it's gonna have that issue. So it's not gonna have the immediate curb appeal, but once you wear it, like, the faults are quickly drowned out by its many, many benefits, in my opinion.
I think we're missing a trick here, and that now the only watch seems to have been abandoned for a bit, we maybe should be creating the new, all-coming awards, the Ugly Watch.
And this is a
award.
positive thing?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Because there are,
You have my attention. Go on.
Thing. It's the Ugly Duckling thing. It's like, this is a definitively ugly watch, but I still love it.
Well, we can love an ugly tool if it's a good tool and it performs the utility purpose well. We'll forgive any horrible looks. That's why there's all kinds of vehicles and planes and things like that people really like, because they serve their purpose well from a utility standpoint. They just look freaking weird in the process.
And there's no doubt. I mean, this is probably one of my favorite watches, let alone favorite Rolexes. But you're right. In its individual parts, it's not a looker. It's not a looker. Admittedly, when you dress it up in gold, it's a bit of a looker. But it's a watch only a mother could love. Maybe that's the way to put it.
Okay.
But if my mother wants to buy me a £50,000 Rolex, then she should feel absolutely free. Now, we had Silvano on the show last week, and I've sent him a message because I'm very upset with him.
Why is that?
We had it because Breitling released Breitling Super Ocean Heritage 57 Highland watches, and did not in any way, shape, or form say even on the side. By the way, Richard, we've got these watches that celebrate the Highlands of Scotland. Would you be interested looking at one? Or here's a picture, or here's the story.
Sylvan is not in PR. It's not his job.
Yeah. Well, I think he needs to go and have a word with someone. So Sylvan, you're almost certainly listening to this. Get it sorted out. This is a completely unacceptable behaviour when there's a Scotsman in the room.
Are you sure it was your Highlands?
No, it does specifically say the Scottish Highlands.
Okay, then yeah.
So it's I own a bit of the Highlands just because every Scotsman.
They should have launched on your land.
It's given a bit. They should have done. They could have come here I could have shown them around the current building site that is my farm, and yeah, they would have been delighted. The tweed straps would almost certainly have been absolutely trashed with mud and rain. The problem with tweed is, I mean, they talk about tweed being Scottish, but have you ever spent any time wearing tweed when it gets wet? Because rain is also a very Scottish thing. It's not a pleasant experience.
Yeah, it's the
It's not
21st century. We
wet
have better
tweed.
materials now.
Yeah, wet tweed is not not good. Wet tweed has a certain
Way ahead of you.
pungentness to it, especially when it dries. So they're super ocean heritage watches. They're very nice. They're
But
maybe
they
not
smell
really
funny when
designed,
damp.
but they smell funny when damp. So make sure you get the bracelet as well as the tweed strap. Gents, any thoughts on these? Are you as upset as I am?
I can't tell if you like
you-
the Highlands or not. I'm really confused.
Highlands are very nice. It's the midges. It's the midges that will do it for you every time.
I don't. I mean, I think I saw this quickly. Yeah, I'm just wondering why there wasn't a more extravagant, PR promotion. You can't be the only one that feels so strongly about the Highlands.
Yeah, I mean, there is
Seems
a
like a missed
distinct lack of
opportunity.
Highlands. I mean, for all it's a Highland watch, there's a distinct lack of Highland imagery in the press release. Like, there's literally no pictures of any mountains. They could just have taken
Have
a
they
picture
even
of a
been to
Swiss
the
mountain and
Highlands?
pretended. That's right. Has anyone actually ever been to Scotland in the senior management team of Breitling? I know George has been to Glasgow at least once.
I mean, if
But,
Sylvan's their designer and he came to your neck of the woods and didn't even say
Oh,
hi,
then there'll be trouble.
yeah,
Sylvan, if you need to confess here, mate, did you come to Scotland to scope out tweed and Highlands and didn't pay us a visit? I'll not be happy. I'll not be happy, bunny. But anyway, these are very nice. But yeah, don't wear when wet. Would be my advice.
great advice for a dive watch, by the way.
Great advice for a dive watch. Don't dive with the tweed strap. Whatever you do,
Also, don't touch the watch.
Okay.
Best advisable, don't touch the watch.
just don't get it wet. It's like Gremlins. Gremlins, that famous Christmas movie. Don't get them in water at all. Not just after midnight. That'd be fine. Let's bring the show in for a bit of a landing and play a quick round of hit miss maybe. So first up, Cartier Green Dial Santos to Cartier watch. Gentlemen, hit miss maybe for this green version of the classic Santos to Cartier.
Oh yeah, I mean the Santos is easily one of the best things that Cartier produces right now. Even though it's quite different than some of the historic Santoses, it's still a great watch. Was it particularly original for them just to have a green dial? No. Is it satisfying? I just saw this watch a couple of days ago actually at the Bindi store here in Los Angeles, and it reminded me of how nice it is. So again, it's one of the stronger products from Cartier right now, in my opinion.
Yeah, David.
Yeah, I quite like this. It's $7,000, 7.7. For the larger model, I quite like this. Yeah, why not?
Yeah, it's a big hit for me. I love this particular watch, and the green's very nice. It's interesting that Cartier, and to a lesser extent Rolex, don't seem to have gone absolutely mental on their price increases. Like, this is $7,000. This has given me the feeling that, the IWC should have given me
I was going to
if it
say,
was priced $8 or $9,000. But you go, oh, actually, that's quite good. And I'm seeing a Cartier $7-8 grand going, yeah, you know what? That's good. Now that probably is also too expensive, but because you've got an IWC at 14, you're going, yeah, Cartier at 7. That's good. Rolex, the Sky-Dweller at 15 or whatever it is, in comparison to an IWC 3-hander at 14, you're going, what is going on here? So Cartier does appear to be a brand that it's just doing its thing and doing it very well.
But the funny thing is, even at 7,000 or whatever it costs, when it first came out, there was a little bit of sticker shock because it was a little bit more expensive than the one before it. Now we're hoping that watches cost only $7,000 or $8,000.
Yeah.
So you can see how the increase in certain categories has been so fast that we're not just like these curmudgeonly old folks being like, I want 1950s prices. No, we're just like, we
I
don't
want
even
2021
understand.
prices.
Yeah, like
That's right.
it's very strange right now.
Pre-pandemic. Yeah, so there we go. That's a big hit from Carty. Our next up, the Visitor Linden. Not convinced, but this is a maybe for me. I see what they're trying to do. I appreciate what they're trying to do, but it's just not my thing. I don't think. Gents, have you come across a Visitor in real life?
Yeah, I've seen a few of these. I mean, look, this is at the end of the day a relatively simple watch that someone tried to do their best to make look distinctive and different, and that's hard to do.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
They did it through some interesting shapes. There's nothing, technically, materially, mechanically special about this. They just wanted to have a classic watch that looked different. And again, as we know, that's a difficult endeavor. So I think for especially people just getting started in dress watches that want to avoid boring, this could be a very decent option.
Yeah, I mean, $600. It's not expensive for what it is for sure. David?
Yeah, I quite like this one. I like the sandwich dial construction with the applied indices, the weird shapes, the unique shape to the case. For $600, it's really nice. Honestly, it looks like a complete package. Even the movement is decent, looks decent. I quite like this, honestly. It's a developed taste for sure, but I think it's a valiant effort.
And we put out to a Blog to Watch Weekly WhatsApp group. So Simon commented that it was a miss from him. He thinks it's kind of, and now that I'm reading his comment, I'm thinking, yeah, the color doesn't do any favors. He's thinking Willy Wonka Oompa Loompa when he looks at this, and I kind of know where he's coming from. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. People do like Hugh Grant, and maybe it's a bit resonant of that. Finally, then
you've already destroyed the original, haven't you? It doesn't exist anymore.
Finally, this week, limited edition Accutron DNA Casino Watch. I'm not sure what makes it a casino watch, but that's the title they've given it. Hit, miss, or maybe on this Ariel. I think you're a bit of a fan of these space views, you know?
I like the other case a lot more. I think they call it the Space View 2020. This one is, it's the case tries to be modern, but I also feel that it's quite large the way it wears because the straps, they jut out. And so if you have bigger wrists, that's fine. But it's not a particularly wearable watch for smaller wrists. This series came in a few different colors, which is why they called it the casino. These are colors you'd see in a casino. As far as I'm concerned, you see like every color in a casino. But, so I feel that with Accutron, there needs to be a lot more rapid evolution and introduction of this interesting electrostatic movement in different forms. They sort of released it and haven't done too much. So I think for me it's a maybe in the sense that I'm not sure if I wear the specific one, but I do appreciate where they're going with it because I have one of the other collection watches and I have to say I like wearing it a lot.
Cool. So a maybe for me?
Maybe.
Yeah. David, hit miss maybe?
This one is a miss for me. I like there's something I find endlessly appealing about Bulova and Accutron. I'm just attracted to the concept and the history and all the rest of it, but this watch does not make any sense whatsoever to me. It's not pleasant to look at all from any angle, at least to my eyes. So it's just not something I want to be in the same room with, let alone wear it.
That's a bit extreme. I don't want to be in the same room as this watch.
If I saw somebody wear this, I would just go somewhere else, honestly. I don't know why, I just can't stand looking at this watch. To be
now we know how to get
honest.
David out of a room.
Yeah, exactly. Let's bring on the Accutrons, folks.
There's a high price to pay. I mean, you would have to wear this watch all day just to get me out of the room. But if you're willing to make that sacrifice, sure.
Just imagine pulling it out of a bag, like I'm pulling a snake out of a bag. You get scared.
Oh, yeah.
I gotta
That's
run.
Fine.
We've discovered David's kryptonite. David's kryptonite is a red Accutron.
Oh, this is weird.
Good stuff. Yeah, I quite like this. It's a maybe. It's a maybe. I'm not going to buy one. I'm not going to wear it, but I appreciate that it exists. So there we go. Good stuff. Well, that is our show for this week. It may well be our show for 2023. We will see. We might be doing something between Christmas and New Year. We might not. We'll just see how we get on.
We got to do the live.
Promises.
We have to do the live Christmas show. With Riverside, we're planning on using a different platform potentially to record called Riverside, and they allow the live call-ins, which we've always wanted to do.
Yep. So maybe. Well, I mean, unless we do like a Christmas morning show, when you would go to church and you take your presents with you, and then you'd show off what you got for your presents. So maybe there's a demand there for people to show off what they probably bought for themselves.
No, New Year's. No, you can't have New Year's plans because you have to be on a live call with a watch podcast.
No New Year plans.
Because you're talking to us.
Get you to phone in. We're getting you to phone in and tell us what you got for Crimbo that added to your watch collection. So
we're gonna we're gonna count down live with all. Not that any of our watches are synchronized or time zones matter at all, but we're just gonna persistently counting down.
A Guinness Book of Records attempt for the most synchronized watches in one go. Do you think we could gather all of the watches and get them most synchronized mechanical watches?
I don't know the Guinness Book folks are going to be paying attention to this.
Probably not, but we'd pay attention to it. So yeah, maybe we'd do an IG live at 1 minute. So, see, it is however the time of year where people get out their perpetual calendars and just tick over that year. So the IWC Da Vinci will be being looked at as it trundles over to 2024.
IWC perpetual calendar fans, you've got an exciting December 31st to look forward to.
Any gentlemen, have you got any perpetual calendars?
Not with the year indicator.
No, I've got the IWC, the Da Vinci. So yeah, that's how I'll be entertained. I'll not be drinking. I'll not be partying hard. I'll be sitting there just watching 2023 count over.
People say, "What did you do for New Year's Eve?" I watched.
Great stuff. Well, have a good Christmas, everybody. We will see you in the new year if we don't see you before then. Yeah, have a great one. So goodbye from me and goodbye from the here and then.
Thanks, everyone. Talk to you soon.
Have a great one. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.